The story begins with a boy named Rentarou confessing to his crush. The girl admits that she likes him but feels sick at the thought of dating him. Crushed by the rejection, Rentarou walks home with his friend. We learn that this was Rentarou's 100th rejection, and his friend teases him about it. He wonders how Rentarou managed to ask out 100 girls, considering they've just graduated from middle school. Rentarou reminisces about the first girl he ever asked out when he was only 8 months old. He's determined to experience what it's like to have a girlfriend. His friend is baffled by how Rentarou keeps getting rejected despite his good looks and good grades, which only adds to Rentarou's frustration. His friend bids him farewell, wishing him luck in high school. Rentarou visits a shrine and prays to the god of love, hoping to find a girlfriend in high school. Suddenly, he hears a voice, and a face pops out of the donation box, revealing that he's the shrine's god. As he emerges with wings and all, the god tells Rentarou he's destined to meet his soulmate in high school and, in fact, he'll have 100 soulmates to choose from. Rentarou is elated, making a creepy face. The god asks him if he's Kanaki from Tokyo Ghoul.
Run.
But he ignores him and swears to destroy the shrine if it turns out to be a lie. 1 month later, it was the first day of high school. Rentarou is on his way to the classroom when he accidentally bumps into 2 girls in the Anakari. A strange feeling passes between them as their eyes meet. And Rentarou wonders if these are the soulmates the god spoke of. He helps the girls up, but Akari suddenly pretends to have twisted her ankle and asks for help at the nurse's office. Rentarou is devastated, believing he hurt his soulmate. Hikari becomes even more fond of him, thinking he's too kind of a soul. As he helps Akari, Ina gets jealous and pretends to twist her ankle as well. And Rentarou starts hitting himself for hurting both of his soulmates. The girls get worried for him and stand up, and Rentarou is surprised to see they can get up, so they immediately go back to acting. Rentarou takes them to the nurse's office, but he feels as though he's the one who's being carried. The girls pretend to lose balance, and they start fighting over him. But they both end up clinging on to him. As they continue to the nurse's office, he introduces himself to them and learns that they are in the same class. 2 other girls pass by and mention a field of pink leaf clovers in the courtyard, saying that if you ask anyone out with a pink 4-leaf clover, they're guaranteed to say yes. Inda and Akari suddenly rush off, surprising Rentarou with their sudden mobility. 3 hours after school ends, Rentarou stays back to help a teacher find his contact lens. As he prepares to leave, he wonders if he'll see the girls again, and sure enough, he spots them in the courtyard. Inda is searching for a 4-leaf clover, and Rentarou decides to join in. Inda is taken aback to see him and tries to pretend she isn't looking for clovers. Rentarou notices that Hikari isn't present, and he offers Inda a drink. She hesitates, so Rentarou thinks she might find him weird since they've just met. However, she suddenly snatches the drink from him, claiming she'll drink it all so it doesn't go to waste. Rentarou suggests she should head home since it's getting late. She reacts defensively but thanks him for the drink. Rentarou realizes she's a tsundere rem, and Inna suddenly runs away while Hikari returns. Rentarou offers Hikari a drink, but she's interested in sharing an indirect kiss with him, so she asks to split the drink, saying she can't finish it by herself. Rentarou had anticipated this, so he brought a smaller drink for her. But she insisted she couldn't finish it alone. He agrees and takes a sip, sharing it with Hikari. But she panics and spills it all. Rentarou assumes she's upset about wasting the drink and offers his handkerchief to help her clean up. However, Hikari takes his hand instead and confesses her love. Rentarou is overjoyed to receive his first ever confession, but before he can respond, Inna suddenly returns, having bought a bunch of drinks to repay him. She scolds Hikari for asking him out and tells her to get in line. Surprising Rentarou that she likes him too. Inna tries to deny her feelings at first, but she eventually confesses to him too. They both ask him whom he'll choose, and he asks them to wait until the next day for his answer. Rentarou is torn between the two girls, unable to make a choice. He visits the shrine, and the god informs him that both girls are his soulmates, making it impossible for him to pick just one. Rentarou ponders what happens when someone meets two soulmates, but the god mentions it's a rare occurrence as people usually don't have more than one. The god reveals that when Rentarou was born, he made a mistake because he was watching too much porn. Oops, sorry, his favorite TV show, assigning him 100 soulmates instead of one. Rentarou gets worried, thinking his Excalibur might end up limp, as producing proteins for 100 girls in every nightstand is just too much to ask. But the god warns him it'll only get more complicated because if a person can't be with their soulmate, they'll die due to unrequited love. Rentarou just can't imagine one of the girls potentially dying, making his choice even more difficult. However, he devises a plan to reject them both and secretly date both girls behind each other's backs. The next morning, the girls meet Rentarou and are surprised by his disheveled appearance. He finally reveals that he wants to date both of them. Into his shock, and it turns out he couldn't bring himself to lie to them. He confesses that he loves both of them and is determined to make them the happiest girls on Earth. They are about to reject him, but Rentarou surprises them with pink four-leaf clovers, which he spent the whole night looking for. Inda teases him for believing in the superstition, but Hikari reminds her that they both believed in it. Inda is initially opposed to the idea of two-timing, but changes her mind when he tells them that he got the flowers because he sees how hard they were looking for them, and she realizes how much effort Rentarou put into making them both happy. The girls just can't handle the gesture, and Hikari also agrees, thinking that two-timing with him is better than getting rejected. Inda refuses to let Hikari have him to herself, so she also agrees to be with him. Hikari teases her for changing her mind, and Rentarou swears to cherish them both, but also wonders about his other 98 soulmates and how he and his Excalibur will survive.
There's no reason to get that excited!
Next day, Rentarou expresses his happiness about finally having a girlfriend, but is actually talking to a pole. The two girls arrive, and Inda creeps out that he is talking to a pole. Rentarou says he was just too happy to contain himself, and Inda suggests he should talk to her instead. However, she becomes embarrassed, and Hikari seizes the opportunity to hold Rentarou's hand. He's overwhelmed by the sensation. And Inda gets jealous, so he eventually grabs her hand as well. She pretends not to enjoy it, but the three of them happily walk together to school. When they arrive at school, they witness a boy being chased by the vice principal. Hikari mentions that the vice principal is strict and that if she catches anyone running in the school, she'll give them a kiss.
Yeah, of course.
Rentarou is horrified at the idea, as it would cause emotional damage. Hikari adds that the vice principal is a former star sprinter, so it's impossible to get away from her. Hikari asks Rentarou if he's ever kissed anyone, to which he replies that he hasn't because they are his first ever girlfriends. Hearing this, both Hikari and Inda realize that whoever acts first will be the one to get his first kiss. The three of them spend their lunch break together, and while Inda is momentarily distracted by a cat, Hikari feeds an egg roll to Rentarou. He enjoys it so much that he begins to cry, which makes Inda jealous. Inda then reveals that she made cookies for him, but when she tries to feed him, she accidentally hits him in his right eye. But he still eats her cookie and tells her it is amazing. Hikari, not to be outdone, takes out a Baki snack. She notices that the ends have been broken and ponders how to feed him without getting her hands dirty, ultimately choosing to feed him with her mouth. Seeing her so close, Rentarou finds her too cute to resist. Hikari continues to bite the snack to get closer to his lips, and Inda becomes worried, thinking Hikari might snatch his first kiss all to herself, so she tries to do the same but once again hits him in the eye. She then asks him why both of his eyes are all red. She worries that he might have a cold, and suddenly, she grabs onto him, telling him that he can get better by passing it on. She attempts to kiss him, but Hikari brushes her off with her giant bazookas, saying they can't be sure he has a cold, so she suggests trying to check his temperature through her forehead and her tempting lips, citing it as her family tradition. However, Inda intervenes and tries to make Rentarou pass out so she can give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But Hikari yet again pushes her away with her giant bazookas. And they both get angry with each other. But I'm surprised, as I used to think that melon attacks were only affected against virgin dudes. Though it turned out to be effective against B-Cups women's too. Rentarou finally realizes their intentions as they both were trying to kiss him. Inda initially disagrees, but her expression gives away their motives. He's stunned to learn that they both want to kiss him, so he offers to kiss them because he's wanted to do it as well. However, Hikari explains that he has to choose who he will kiss first, sparking another conflict between the two girls. Rentarou intervenes, saying he has a solution he planned the previous day when he was overly excited. He thought about how to make them happy and decided that for the first kiss, they should keep who was kissed first a mystery. This way, they'll both have an equal chance of being his first kiss, and he'll consider each of their kisses as his first. The girls are concerned about how to keep it a mystery, but Rentarou explains his plan. It involves wearing a mask and covering their ears. They'll use dice to randomly determine their standing positions, and he'll kiss them without knowing who is who. Then, they'll return to their original positions, and the girls will once again randomize their positions, so in the end, he won't know who he kissed first. Hikari thinks it's a great idea, but Inda worries there's a chance he could cheat, so Rentarou assures them that they won't cheat, making a pinky promise. Inda finds this silly, but Rentarou adds a dramatic touch by swearing to stick a needle in his eye if he breaks the promise. The girls agree to the plan, and as they go about carrying it out, Rentarou worries about running into them because he can't see them. So he attempts to first find where they are, but accidentally starts to feel something soft. Turns out he's grabbing Hikari's cushions, instantly recognizing her huge juicy melons, and ends up starting the plan over. As they go at it again, a gust of wind suddenly lifts up Inda's skirt, and the cat starts clawing at it. But Inda thinks it's Rentarou who's trying to check her dungeon's gate, and ends up kicking him, breaking his cherries. But she just doesn't finish here as she starts beating him up. But her headphones come out, and she realizes it was the cat. Man, the poor guy gets all beat up for nothing, though at least he didn't disappoint us men of culture with his last action, so it was worth it. So they decide to try again, but with each attempt, something goes wrong, and they're unable to kiss. Everyone is upset, and Inda points out that the plan was flawed. This angers Hikari, and they both start blaming each other and fighting over who Rentarou belongs to. He intervenes and takes all the blame upon himself for not being experienced and runs off. He calls out for the vice principal, and she suddenly appears to punish him for running. She gets on top of him, and he's terrified, but Ina suddenly stops her. Hikari pretends to see a school inspector, making the vice principal worried. And she quickly crawls away like a cockroach. The girls wonder why Rentarou acted so rashly, and he explains that it's because he loves them both and wants them to get along. He'd rather ruin his first kiss than cause them to fight. After hearing this, both girls tell him he can kiss the other and not waste his first kiss. Rentarou is surprised by their understanding, and both the girls realize that they genuinely love him. Rentarou hugs them both and comes up with another plan, which is a three-way kiss. He initially thought they wouldn't agree to it, but seeing them getting along now, he thinks it can work. The girls are embarrassed at the thought of kissing each other, but ultimately agree, and the three of them finally share their first three-way kiss. By the way, you should try it too if you also have girlfriends as understanding as them.
She likes it when I treat her good. She likes it when I treat her bad. She likes to travel all around. I take her everywhere and back. Yeah, oh, you fucking with the man, girl. You throw it right back. No, I like that. I'ma bite back. You know I've become a fan, girl. The way you throw back like a Kodak. Girl, you own that.
So the following day, the girls and Rentarou are at the library. Hikari looks for a cookbook so she can make more food for him, but Ina argues with her over a book about winning a man through his stomach. Rentarou tells them to get along, reminding them how they both shared a kiss, which makes the girls embarrassed for making them kiss each other like some lesbians.
Thinking, damn girl, yeah, just let me be your man, girl.
Rentarou looks around for another book but encounters another girl who gives him a shocking sensation, making him wonder if she's another one of his soulmates. The girl steps back, and Rentarou realizes she's the librarian. This girl doesn't speak but points to phrases in her book to communicate. Rentarou initially finds this confusing, thinking they aren't meant to speak in a library. She asks him what he's looking for, and he tries to mime out that he's looking for a funny story. But the girl asks him why he's not talking. Rentarou asks her the same question, and she apologizes, preparing to find someone else to help him. However, Rentarou stops her and asks for her assistance. He requests her recommendations for a romance story with a good ending. She starts picking out some books for him. But Rentarou is shocked when she ends up with a mountain of books. She apologizes and tells him to pick the ones he wants, but he decides to take them all since she chose them for him. Unfortunately, his library card isn't ready yet, and he can't borrow any of the books. The girl offers him her own personal book, and Rentarou happily accepts it. We learn that her name is Shizuka. At night, Rentarou reads the book, which is a story about a princess and her knight. The knight swears loyalty to her and protects her from a dragon. The two fall in love, but the princess is arranged to marry another prince. The knight rushes to her side, wishing there was a way for them to defy their fates. Rentarou roots for them, but the story ends on a cliffhanger. The next day, he thanks Shizuka for the book and realizes that she brought him the second book. He excitedly accepts it but thinks he needs to find a way to repay her. He buys a drink for her, and they start talking about the book outside. Shizuka tells him that it's her favorite book, and Rentarou is impressed by how well she knows the book, as she can easily find phrases to communicate with it. Shizuka, in turn, is grateful that he doesn't find her weird and opens up about her lack of real friends. She admits that she has never had a true friend. Hearing this, Rentarou gets an idea and asks to borrow her first book again. The next day, we see Shizuka has brought the third book for Rentarou, but he doesn't show up even after a few days. As she walks around the school, she notices Rentarou with Hikari and Inna. They can see how tired he looks, and he explains that he's been busy at night. The girls speculate about what he's been up to, but Rentarou continues to yawn. Hikari suddenly kisses him, telling him she's giving him her energy. Rentarou hugs her, calling her his angel. Inna chimes in, saying she also has plenty of energy to offer. She moves in to kiss him but ends up headbutting him instead. Shizuka realizes that Rentarou has a girlfriend and concludes that he must be too busy to read. She reflects on how the other girls found her weird because of the way she talks, and even her mother thinks she's a freak, begging her to speak normally. She believes that nobody has time for someone like her. However, Rentarou seeks her out, saying he can finally repay her for lending him her books. Rentarou helps Shizuka install an app on her phone and reveals that he made a copy of the first book. He shows her how to select the words and play them as a voice. Shizuka knows that the ebook was never released, so Rentarou manually typed out the entire book. Rentarou explains that when she talks with the book, they never speak face-to-face since she always has to look at the book. However, by using the app, they can look at each other while she talks. He hopes it will help her with communicating with others and encourages her to try it out. Shizuka initially tells Rentarou that she loves him, but she quickly takes it back, telling him not to worry. Rentarou responds by telling her that he loves her too. Shizuka is convinced that they are destined not to be together, but Rentarou assures her that they will overcome any challenges. Even if it's their fate. He introduces Shizuka to the other girls and asks if they can add her as his newest girlfriend. Meanwhile, singles be like. Inna thinks he's insane. But Hikari thanks him for staying with them, even after finding someone else. Rentarou reassures them that his feelings toward them haven't changed, using an analogy that they are like an oil field, and Shizuka is just a completely new field. Inna asks him to stop comparing his love for his girlfriends to fossil fuels, while he goes on with weird logic and tells them that adding her won't affect their relationship in any way. In fact, he plans to cherish all of them even more than before and promises to prove it through his actions. He swears that if he ever fails them, he will atone for it by committing seppuku. By the way, if you don't know what seppuku is, then Google and Incognito are your best friends. So he swears that he will commit seppuku and even joking about ordering a special knife from Amazon if it's on discount. Inna ends up accepting it, and Rentarou's girlfriends grow by one, but there are still 97 soulmates to go. Maybe this anime studio is too inspired by this guy.
Awesome, what do you do for a living?
Well, I guess I'm a jack of all trades.
Okay.
You know, doctor, lawyer, teacher, plumber, astronaut.
Whoa, how do you do all that?
Just a busy guy.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. That's awesome.
He's also my personal trainer.
Oh.
As he's a world record holder for clapping more than 100 girls. Thanks for watching Anitales Recap, and also do mention in the comment section if there is anything that I should be improving on my channel. See you all in the next recap. Goodbyes until then.